Most people are still running Claude Code with their terminal open, sitting there approving everything. I stopped doing that for the repetitive stuff. And now I've got a handful of Claude Code sessions running on Anthropic servers. Some of these sessions fire on a schedule every single morning. Some of them fire even when my own systems ping it. I can even trigger these sessions with an API call. No terminal open, no me approving everything. My laptop stays closed for all of it. And here's how it works. Quick intro if you're new. My name is Noah. I run an AI automation agency, and this channel is where I show all the tools and systems I use to actually run it. So if you're into Claude Code, drop a like and a sub, and let's get right into it. All right, so you're probably wondering how this is even possible, and it's by using a new released feature by Anthropic called Routines. Now, as you can see on my screen, I'm in Claude Code, but I'm on the web version. And to get here, you just do claude.ai/code. Now, if you head into this Routines tab that you see right here, this is exactly what I'm talking about. And you can already see the 3 new ones that I've just set up. And by the way, if you're wondering what the hell Auto is, that's my new Claude Code assistant for my AI agency. So let me introduce you to Auto. He's a good looking fellow, right? Anyways, I'm going to show you exactly how to set this up for yourself. But first I want to give you some real life examples for how I actually use this. So if I head into this brand new routine that I literally just made like 30 minutes ago, it's my Auto sales directory. And this is the portion of Auto that controls our cold email campaigns. Now what this system does as a whole is once it's prompted, it will do a bunch of lead scraping based on a certain location and a certain vertical. And Claude does this all on its own, of course, with external tools like LeadSwift. And it'll run verification on the emails and also like import them directly into my Instantly AI account where we can run the campaigns and send off cold emails. But it doesn't only do that, it also assists with copywriting, it captures replied emails, and much more. So as you can see, I just started a new run, which is literally my first time actually running this. So you can see that automatically when I run it, you can see that it's actually loading up here. And the way that this is set up is it's actually going to send me a Slack message with the daily digest with all the information that is described in the instructions that we placed. So in just a second, you're going to see a Slack message come in. And of course, this is brand new, so I set it up on a demo account as I actually build out the system. But I just want to show you how powerful this is because this is the message that I'm going to be getting every single morning to stay up to date on what's going on with my cold email campaigns. And there it is. So if I pull up Slack right here, you can see that we have a new message that just came in at 6:06 p.m. and it's the daily digest message. We got leads in the database. Right now it's just 60. The vertical is HVAC and so on. Now I do have to be honest, I'm still working on building auto sales, so this one may not be as impressive, but let me take you to my next one. Unlike the sales one that I just showed you that runs on a trigger every single morning, this one is my auto alert checker. Now you're probably wondering what this even does. Well, in my agency, I run many voice agents for a lot of my clients, and we do that through a platform called Retail AI, which is actually the host of the voice agents. Now what my auto monitoring system does is ensure that all our voice agents are performing as they should by doing constant quality assurance checks. So what I've done here is I have an alerting system that comes directly from Retail AI. So anytime an alert comes through, for example, a call transfer has failed or an API call has failed, it will automatically trigger a webhook in one of my workflows that then automatically runs this routine via an API call. Now, once it calls on this system, Claude Code gets activated, the session is started, and Claude starts digging into the problem. I've pulled up an example here because like I said, every time that something's going on, I get notified by Slack. As you can see, Auto sends me a Slack message. So here's an example that happened yesterday. I got a notification from Auto that we had a retail alert like I just described, and it was an API error. Now, of course, it just gives me some general stats. And then as you can see, 3 minutes later, which is the time it took to call on this routine via the API call and for Auto to actually dig into what's going on, it gave me a full breakdown on the error and if it's worth looking into or if it's something that I can just blow by. And as you can see, it gives me a bunch of information, so I'm up to date all the time, no matter what's going on with any of my clients' agents. And this is why it's so powerful, because before I would have to manually check this every single day, and I would have to go through all my clients' agents, make sure they're all performing as they should. And it's a lot of data to go through manually when you have to go through each transcript or listen to every single recording. It's a lot to do, I promise you. So Auto has made my life 1,000 times easier by taking this portion off of me. But I will be honest with you, all these routines were set up in the last few days, meaning that I don't have a bunch of data to show you on how it's actually been going. But what I do know is as I was setting them up and over the last few days for when this one was running in particular, it has been working so well. And I do have another one for the auto monitoring system, and this is similar to the auto sales system where it's a daily digest. So this is where Auto Autopilot will go through every single transcript of every call that went on in the previous day with our voice agents. We'll go through all of them, perform all its quality assurance that's built into the system, and then send me a Slack message with anything I should be aware of, anything that's just noise, and so on. So if you're still wondering what is this actually useful for, well, let me tell you. I'm sure if you use Claude Code enough, you're constantly doing repetitive tasks over and over with it, calling commands on your systems that you build or the platforms that you use. This essentially just automates that extra portion. You don't need to open your terminal every morning to check on how your data is doing or if there was any errors within your systems. You can now just have Claude do this on its own. And yes, this is also possible by doing it on your local machine. By the way, you don't need to use Anthropic servers. But then again, if your laptop is closed or your computer is off, these routines are not going to run. So that's the main reason that I actually use Anthropic servers. And if you're on a max plan, then there's no reason you shouldn't. Unless you plan on running like 100 routines a day, there's no reason that you shouldn't just use Anthropic servers since they're live 24/7. So let me put it like this. If you've ever used cron where you have a script that runs on a schedule, this is like that. But instead of running a specific script, like a Python script or whatever, it's running an entire Claude Code session. And of course, you know how powerful Claude Code is and the capabilities that it has. So these are two different worlds, running a singular script on a schedule and running an entire Claude Code session on a schedule. All right, so I've given you a few examples. Now I want to show you how to actually set it up. So like I said, you're going to come over to claude.ai/code. And of course, you're going to need to log in if you haven't already logged in. And once you're in this routine section, you can actually go ahead and just press create a new routine. The setup is pretty straightforward. So of course, the first thing you're going to want to do is just give it a name. The instructions are of course a very important part, but we all know that you're not about to write these instructions. You're going to prompt Claude Code to write your instructions for you. So I'm not going to spend too much time here. What is important is you need to connect the direct GitHub repository for where the system actually lives. If you're running like a Claude Code system just based on your local drive, then you won't actually be able to hook it up to Anthropic servers. Regardless, you should absolutely be storing these systems and codes in GitHub no matter what. So if you haven't already done that, push all your code to your GitHub account or create a new GitHub. It's very simple to do and it's cloud hosted, so you'll never lose anything. Now you are going to need to connect your GitHub account to Claude if you haven't already done that. And to do that, you can just come over to customize. You can go to connectors and then just connect your GitHub account. No problem. But we're back in the routine. So now you're going to select the repository for where your system lives. So I'm just going to use auto monitor for this example. And now here's another very important part. If your system has any environment variables, you can actually add that into the routine. So like I described earlier with the retail alerting routine that I have, it needs my retail API key to be able to access what those alerts are about and get more information so it can actually dig into the problem and then get back to me with the solution. So because of that, we actually need to create an environment to attach to this routine. And to do that, all you have to do is hit on this default button right here. And you can see I already created a few environments, one for my sales and one for my monitoring. But for you, all you would need to do is just press add new environment and you can give it a name. Like you saw, I named it auto monitor or auto sales. The network access, so this is what's going to allow it to access the network, obviously. You can keep it on trusted. I usually bump it up to full, which just gives it the maximum flexibility. But you could also just press custom and then you can input the domains that you want Claude to be able to access. So for example, if I have N8N automations running through the system where I have it local hosted on a VPS, I would just give it my N8N instance domain. And then I would also have to give it retail's API domain and so on. You would also probably want to also include the default list. And then here's where your environment variables go. So it's very simple. All you would do is type in the name of your variable that lives in your system. So for example, retail_API. And then you would go equals, and then you would paste your retail API key right here. So it's really as simple as that. Then all you would do is press create environment and you would just hook it up to this one right here by selecting it like that. And of course you can always edit these environments by just clicking the settings button right here. Now, another thing to pay attention to is the model, right? So depending on what model you want to use, it could use up more credits. I'm on Claude Max, so I just keep it on Opus 4.8. But if you're on Pro or something, maybe bumping that down to Sonnet 4.6 will save you a little bit of tokens. All right, and now to the trigger. So you can see that we have a couple different options. One is a schedule, which is very self-explanatory. You can do it once, hourly, daily, weekdays, weekly, or custom. So if you wanted this to run daily, you would just select daily and you would select the time. Same with weekdays or weekly, you can select the time and the day and so on. Now you can actually add more than one trigger for a specific event. So if you did want it to run on a schedule, but you also wanted it to run with an API call, you can do both. All right, and then the second option, which is less important in my opinion, is a GitHub event. You can run the trigger when a GitHub event occurs, like a pull request opened, PR merged, and so on. Then you have the API trigger. So this is also a really big one. So when you click API, it's actually not going to do anything because you can see that it says the token will be generated when you save this routine. So after you set up these settings, you press create, that's when it's going to give you the token, and that's the token you can use to put into your system or your workflows or wherever you need to actually call on the routine. So let me give you an example of this because I already showed you earlier that we do have one of these routines that runs on a API call. All right, so I just pulled up the workflow that actually sends off the request to Claude to start that routine. So I won't spend too much time in N8N, don't worry. But what you're looking at here is a webhook trigger, and this webhook gets triggered when retail AI calls on it when an alert has gone off. So for example, the API alert, if retail recognizes that there's an API alert, calls on this webhook and this automation runs. Now this is really good because unlike Anthropic servers, N8N actually can have unlimited executions if you are local hosting. So that's the main reason that I'm still using N8N in 2026. But nonetheless, the way this works is once it's triggered, it will run through the workflow. And as you can see here, I have an HTTP request node with the built-in API token that's going to be generated after we save the routine. So essentially retail alert goes off, calls on the N8N workflow. The N8N workflow then calls on the Claude routine. The Claude routine then looks into the issue and gets back to me via Slack. And it is literally as simple as that. So you can see here that we can also add connectors, which is pretty cool. So if you have any of your connectors in Claude that you want to attach to this routine to give it certain access, you can do that. So right now you can see that it added a few automatically for me, like my meta ads, my vidIQ, my Windsor. But if you don't want them, you can also just exit them off just like that. And then a couple other small settings. You have this behavior tab where it can auto fix pull requests. So you can enable that if you want. And then permissions, you can also give it unrestricted git push permissions if you want. But really, I wouldn't worry too much about those because this feature in my eyes isn't necessarily building the system. I think when you want to build the system, you still do want your terminal open and you want direct communication between you and Claude. This is more so for repetitive routines that you need Claude to take care of, but it doesn't need much guidance on how to do it. And that's exactly why we have an instructions box where you can paste exactly what Claude needs to do. And that is literally how easy it is to set up. They have a test feature where you can run now. So once you set up your routine, you can test it, make sure it's actually going through. And if you are running on a schedule, the other option to test is just switch the schedule to like a minute from now. So you can see how it would work in real time. And that's pretty much it. I do have to be honest with you guys. I learned about this like a few days ago and I started building with it and setting up these systems, but I was too excited to wait to show you guys. That's why I made this video so prematurely. And that's why you see I don't have a bunch of routines already set up, but I'm sure if you come back to my channel a week from now, I will have a lot more done. Anyways, that's it for now. Like I just said, I want to share these tools with you as I learn them as well, which is why I'm not super advanced at using routines yet, but I want to get it to you guys as quickly as possible because I think this technology is just insane. It's super cool and super useful, and I'm going to be building a lot with it. If you want to see the cool stuff that I come up with using tools like this, or you're just interested in learning cool Claude tricks or Claude Code tools, just hit that subscribe button, stay up to date. And of course, you'll be supporting me in the channel. And that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I will see you next time. Peace.